Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback, and we've got a really good weekend to flashback on June 24th, 1987. And on this particular weekend, we have three classic movies, of varying degrees. A Stanley Kubrick classic, Mel Brooks classic, and a classic with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks. So let's just go ahead and jump right on into it with that movie in particular, the biggest new release of the three, and that was Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks in the remake of Dragnet.
Dragnet. The story you are about to see this summer is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. For instance, Dan Aykroyd.
Ma'am.
Is Sergeant Joe Friday. Tom Hanks is Detective Pep Streebag.
I'm your new partner. There's a dress code for detectives in robbery homicide. Section 3-605.10.22.24.70.80. My name's Friday.
Take a lot of kidding about that?
Almost never.
You know the kinds of things that can fall into an industrial sausage press? Not excluding rodent hairs, bug excrement.
I hate you, Streebek.
You got a lot of repressed feelings, don't you, Friday? Must be what keeps your hair up.
Police officers, ma'am.
Why couldn't you have got here before that big, bad, stupid-looking piece of sewage breath stole my white wedding dress?
Just the facts, ma'am.
We need to ask you a few questions.
Their job,
You know, Friday, I think we finally found your look.
to enforce the laws
This is shaping up to be a little more than just a series of simple robberies.
and preserve the safety of decent citizens.
Streebek! I found the snake!
Sure, this city isn't perfect. We need a smut-free life for all of our citizens. Cleaner streets, better schools, a good hockey team.
Dragnet. A new generation of courage.
Thank God it's Friday!
Just the facts, ma'am.
Man, I don't think you could have gotten pitch-perfect casting better than Dan Aykroyd as Joe Friday. And essentially, you've got the plot of a regular episode of Dragnet. This time around, it's set in modern times. It's both a parody and an homage to the classic television series from Jack Webb, who is also one of the main people who... I thought he was involved in this movie, but I don't think he is in particular. No, I don't think he was, but of course this is based off of Jack Webb's radio and TV crime drama, but this time around it's a comedy where you have Aykroyd as Joe Friday, who is the nephew of the original series protagonist, while Tom Hanks is Pep Streebek, his new partner. And there's a storyline going on here where they are doing their jobs and they go across these crazy adventures here, and the movie is just a ton of fun, man. This is exactly what you think of when you think of a Dragnet movie. There have been some good modern versions of Dragnet in this generation that I've been around. This one in particular that we're about to talk about here, and more importantly, I really love the Ed O'Neill, Ethan Embry one they did in the 2000s. The one that Dick Wolf did for Law and Order. The guy who made Law and Order, he did that for ABC, and only lasted a couple seasons, but man, was it worth it, man. That was a great show. It really does show Ed O'Neill's strength, not just as a great comedic actor, but also the fact that he's a really good dramatic actor, too. If you can find those episodes out there online, look for them, because they're definitely worth it. But this is a really good comedy, and it works in place to the strengths of its actors. Dan Aykroyd is really good as Joe Friday, and he really does capture the spirit of what Jack Webb brought to the table with the old show. And Tom Hanks plays very well to him. But keep in mind, this is Tom Hanks before he became the actor that we know him for. This was him when he was still doing more of the comedic movies in general, and not before. Is before he eventually became the multi-talented actor that he is now, both a great comedic actor and a dramatic actor overall. And he works very well here. You got Christopher Plummer in here, Dabney Coleman, Alexandra Paul, Kathleen Freeman, Harry Morgan's also in here. He was in the original. One of the TV revivals of Dragnet, if I remember correctly. And the movie just works. It does a good job of bringing this world into the modern setting, and it never feels like they're overstepping their boundaries. It never feels like they're going overboard on what they're supposed to be doing. Everything about this movie just works so well. It's really funny. It's very silly at times. It's very smart at times. It's very clever. It's everything you can ask for and then some. It sadly doesn't get a whole lot of attention, honestly. It's a film that is very underappreciated, and it's one I'd highly recommend checking out. If you haven't seen this movie yet, definitely check it out. Dragnet definitely is more than worth it. Of course, this is the lesser of the three films that we have on this particular weekend, as we're kind of moving up the ladder of the films that have had the most memorability to them. Here's the second most memorable film of the weekend, Mel Brooks' latest film, Spaceballs.
Once upon a time, deep in outer space, there lived the most sinister villain in the universe, Dark Helmet.
I can't breathe in this thing!
Spaceballs.
They must have hypertips on that thing. And what do we got on this thing? A Cuisinart?
Starring Mel Brooks
It's for you.
as President Screw.
Who is it?
Daphne Zuniga as Princess Vespa.
Daughter of Roland, king of the Druids.
Funny. She doesn't look Jewish.
John Candy as Bart.
Whoa! Give me paw!
Bill Pullman as Lone Star.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Mel Brooks as the magnificent Yoga.
Don't make a fuss. I'm just playing yoga.
Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Spaceballs. The movie.
Smoke if you got 'em. And may the Schwartz be with you!
Of course, that great parody of such sci-fi classics as Battle Beyond the Stars. Of course, I'm kidding. Of course, obviously, it's Star Wars. I mean, why even bother trying to sugarcoat it? But in this movie, you have a heroic mercenary, Lone Star, played by Bill Pullman, and his alien sidekick, Barth, played by John Candy, who rescues Princess Vespa, Daphne Zuniga of Druidia, and her droid Dot Matrix, played by Joan Rivers, from being captured by the Spaceballs, led by President Screw, played by Mel Brooks, who wants to use Vespa as ransom to obtain Druidia's, I can't pronounce this land, Druidia's heir from their own planet. However, the heroes get stranded on the desert moon, where they encounter the wise Yogurt, played by Mel Brooks as well, who teaches Star about the metaphysical power known as the Schwartz. Meanwhile, Spaceball Commander Dark Helmet, played by Rick Moranis, and Colonel Sanders, played by George Weiner, lead the search for them, but are hindered by their own incompetence. I mean, talk about one of the great comedy classics of all time, and one of Mel Brooks' crowning achievements. I mean, this is everything you can ask for in a really good Mel Brooks movie. I mean, this is the guy that pioneered the spoof movie, is in general the parody movie genre as a whole. He did it with Blazing Saddles. He's done it with a ton of like great spoof comedies, History of the World, Silent Movie, High Anxiety, To Be and Not to Be. This is definitely another one of those movies where he just really shows you what he's capable of doing, and the comedy here is just great. Not only parodying both Star Wars and Star Trek, but also Alien. I mean, John Hurt basically playing the same role that he did in Alien, where Alien pops out of him, and you think it's going to be played for chills again, just like an Alien, but no. The way it's presented, like is turning the alien into Michigan J. Frog with the song from that cartoon. You know, hello my baby, hello my honey, like. Moments like that still hold up very well, and just everything about this movie is just so goddamn funny. This movie is so brilliantly put together. It's so well done. It's a great movie. Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet, just pitch perfect, man. I mean, there's so much about this movie that is so well done. Everything about this movie just works very well. A lot of the jokes work. There are very few misfires here and there. I mean, I've got nothing else for you, man. If you haven't seen Spaceballs by this point, you are doing yourself a major, major disservice by not doing so. And it's one you should definitely check out. Now, I know they're doing a sequel. I think Josh Gad is working on the sequel for this. And I don't know. Like, you know my stance on comedy sequels, and considering the fact this is going to be, 40 years between this movie and whenever they make the sequel, I'm not really certain that there should be a Spaceballs 2 at this point. I mean, that ship has kind of sailed, but then again, I'm not the one running MGM at this point, so even the people running MGM right now don't seem to know what the hell they're doing. Just ask them about what they're doing with James Bond. But anyway, Spaceballs. Not much more to say about this one. It's a comedy classic, very hilarious, very well done, great cast, great laughs. Spaceballs, man. Spaceballs. May the Schwartz be with you. So, let's go ahead and move on to the last film that we have here, the most memorable movie that came out this weekend, and that's Stanley Kubrick's latest film, Full Metal Jacket.
The enemy has very deceitfully taken advantage of the Tet ceasefire to launch an offensive all over the country. In Saigon, the United States Embassy has been overrun by suicide squads. Quezon is standing by to be overrun. We also have reports that a division of NVA has occupied all of the city of Hue south of the Perfume River. In strategic terms, Charlie's cut the country in half. The civilian press are about to wet their pants, and we've heard even Cronkite's going to say the war is now unwinnable.
Sir, does this mean that Anne Margaret's not coming?
Whose side are you on, son?
Our side, sir.
Don't you love your country?
Yes, sir.
Then how about getting with the program? Why don't you jump on the team and come on in for the big win?
Yes, sir.
Son, all I've ever asked of my Marines is to obey my orders as they would the word of God. We are here to help the Vietnamese because inside every gook is an American trying to get out. It's a hardball world, son. We've got to keep our heads until this peace craze blows over.
Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, coming in June to a theater near you.
Again, a movie that really does not need a whole lot there for me to add to this. I mean, what more can you say about this movie, man? Stanley Kubrick's second to last film he ever made. Following a platoon of U.S. Marines through their boot camp training at Marine Corps Recruit Depot Parris Island, South Carolina, the first half of the film focuses primarily on Privates J.T. Davis and Leonard Lawrence, played by Matthew Modine, and I believe, who's the private? Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio. I was thinking, who's Anna Baldwin here? But played by Matthew Modine and Vincent D'Onofrio. They're nicknamed, excuse me, sorry about that, nicknamed Joker and Pyle, who struggle under their abusive drill instructor, played by Arlie Ermey, memorably played by Arlie Ermey. The second act portrays the experiences of Joker and other Marines in the Vietnamese cities of Da Nang and Hue during the Tet Offensive of the Vietnam War. The film's title references the Full Metal Jacket bullet used by military servicemen. And this is Stanley Kubrick coming off of The Shining just 7 years before this, and he was not making as many movies as he usually did. After this, he only had one more movie, and that was Eyes Wide Shut, that came out in 1999, which is my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie of his. But you can't go wrong with a movie like Full Metal Jacket, man. I mean, just everything about this movie that has already been said is well out there. The cinematography is top-notch. The choice of music is very well done. The acting overall is incredible. It's well done. I mean, a cast that includes Modine, D'Onofrio, Ermey, Adam Baldwin, Dorian Haywood, Arliss Howard. I mean, Arlie Ermey alone, like, some of the most memorable lines in movie history come from that one guy. It's amazing that he did not get an Oscar nomination for this, because he probably should have been nominated for this movie in general. And it's a terrific movie, man. It's just a visual stunner to look at. I mean, yeah, the music isn't quite as memorable as the music from Platoon, which is amazing, but the usage of the soundtrack in this is so well done. I mean, the songs they use in here play very well to what they're trying to get across here, and the visuals just strike very well with the music in general. It's such a great movie, man. It's such a great film. One of the greatest war movies ever made. From one of the great directors of our time. A director who, honestly, I'd put him up there with cinema's Mount Rushmore. Like, you know, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg. Who else did I have in there? I had somebody else in there, but Stanley Kubrick definitely would be on that mountain in particular. And I know I should know who it is, but I'm going to completely forget about it by the time I finish recording this. But yeah, Stanley Kubrick definitely deserves to be on top of cinema's Mount Rushmore. I mean, some of the most influential films of our time, made by these great directors as a whole, and I just know I'm going to remember it after I'm done shooting this. But the bottom line I'm trying to get across here is that Full Metal Jacket is friggin' awesome. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's one of the greatest war movies ever made for a reason. Yeah, Full Metal Jacket, instant classic. So with all that said, we wrap up a pretty damn good week of movies on Time About the Movies Flashback. The next time we meet, only one big movie in particular, but it's a good movie too. Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah in the romantic comedy Roxanne. So that's the film we'll take a look at next time around. But thank you so much for watching this. And if you did enjoy this video and want to see more of them, please go ahead and hit the playlist below. Check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. You get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed making it this week. So, with all that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.